Hey, good morning, folks, and welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. We have a little project I want to get done early this morning, and we'll tell you why. So stick around and we'll fill you in on what we're going to do. So we done some bush hogging around the farm yesterday, and it needed to get done because some of this grass we had out here was like chest high with the rain we've got early this month. And it's actually sprinkling a little bit now and rained a little bit earlier, which is going to help out my project that I'm going to do. You remember from our last video, the walk around we did, there was really tall grass back here. We used the bush hog over there and knocked all this down. And we've got all this grass down on the ground, really thick down here. And I got to thinking, too bad there wasn't a way to collect all this up, because we could use all the mulch that we could get. In fact, we almost ran out with the garden this year, so I thought it was kind of a shame, all this grass here laying on the ground. And I got to thinking, well, we should pick it up and we should use it, put it in a big mulch pile. Now we could do this the old-fashioned way my dad and grandpa used to do it out on the farm. It's called shocking, and it has nothing to do with electricity. You just get out in the field with a pitchfork and you pile the hay up, and so you can come pick it up later with a truck or a wagon or whatever. But my back won't take that. But it's similar to haying. They did the shocking back before you had like hay rakes and stuff like that, the more mechanized stuff to put your hay up. In fact, I'll show you a little video on that. It's pretty ingenious how they used to do this stuff. Whoa! Now my grandparents, and back when my dad was young, they didn't have any of that fancy equipment. It was all manual labor. You stacked it on the truck or on the wagon with the hay fork, and then you put it in the barn. You back the truck or the wagon into the barn and put it in there. They didn't have a trolley till later to where they could use the trolley to put it up into the barn. So I thought about what we had here on the homestead that we could use to rake this hay up, and then I remembered our landscape rake, and then I figured once we pulled it up with the landscape rake and pile it up, we could use the grapple to pick it up. So that's what we're going to do. Now if this were hay, we would need to let it set for 4 or 5 days and roll it once during that time, because your hay's got to be nice and dry before you put it in the barn. Otherwise it gets too hot and it'll even catch on fire and burn your barn down. So, but since we're using this for compost, we want it as wet as we can get it. That's why I want to do this while it's still green. And like I said, the rain that we've had this morning is even going to help even more. So this stuff's going to be nice and moist in the pile, and it's going to heat up really hot and help compost this stuff down. So this is what we're using. Somewhat looks like an old hay rake. Got the same tines. They're a little bit bigger, a little closer together. But we're thinking it's going to pick up this loose grass pretty well. And then we put the grapple on the front. So I'm thinking after we get the grass in a pile, we can pick the grass up with the grapple because we have all the extra teeth on our brush crusher. So the plan is to pull it all kind of down here in the middle, make a pile, and then grab it up. And then we're going to start a new pile with this grass because I don't want to mix it with our existing compost because I don't know how fast this will break down. But if it breaks down really nice later on, like in the fall or whatever, we can just combine the piles. So let's get started. All right, it doesn't get 100% of it, but it does pretty good. We got 3 more areas we can do like this. What are you doing, Ruby Roo? Got this whole area here next to the garden that we can bring all this together as well. All right, what do you girls think of this pile of compost? Is this gonna work? What do you think, Ruby? Is that gonna work? Oh, you got your antler. That's all you're worried about. Well, we went and got the tractor, put the bucket back on. We've piled up our grass here a little taller. You can see we got a nice big pile of grass here. And then we rolled over our existing compost pile because with that rain it got nice and moist, and we want all that moisture on the inside. Now out in the field, this pile, if this were hay, would be called a shock of hay. So when they were, like I said, when they were piling it was called shocking. Now my dad would do a whole field of hay like this, acres worth of hay. Of course it would be as high as he could sling it with the pitchfork, like 10 feet high. And then people that didn't have barns would have to actually leave these shocks out in the field, and the hay on top would act kind of like a thatch roof and would protect the hay on the inside. The water would kind of trickle down the outside of the stack there. I love the way the garden looks after a nice rain. Sure perks up the plants real well. They really love rainfall. Look at the jump these peas made just here in a couple days. Pretty crazy. Nothing better than a good rain for the garden. Well, we're going to go have a sit on our little garden bench over here in the apple trees and look over our handiwork out here. One of my favorite things to do is just sit down and take a look at over the homestead and see the fruits of our labor. Well, it's turning out to be just an absolute gorgeous morning this morning. We got a little family get together this afternoon we're going to get ready for here in a little bit. But the real thing we want to celebrate this weekend is those people that fought and gave their lives for our country and our freedom and our liberty. Everybody gives a little bit, but some people gave it all. And those are the people that we're honoring this weekend. So we'll say a little prayer for them this weekend. And we hope you come back and see us here on Mark Kelly Farm. We hope you enjoy our content. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.